Alright, hello, I'm Grant, and I'm using FL Studio 20. This is just what I'm familiar with, it's what I've been using. So I'm just gonna record this live. Hopefully it all goes smoothly. Alright, so to start off, let me just move this up a little bit. Just gonna go over some quick stuff in FL Studio. Some of the options here. Generally only use MIDI, audio, general, and file settings, and sometimes manage plugins if I'm adding a new one. File settings though, this is how I add all the sound packs I download. You just click a folder here and it brings up your documents. You can plug that in or whatever. MIDI, that's how I have my piano set up. Right now I just have a kick going. Audio, that's how I make sure I'm connected to my headphones or my speakers, whatever I'm using. General, actually I've never really used this other than to change the size of these boxes. So actually I'm not even gonna mess with it. I'm not positive or familiar with a lot of these settings, but I've never had to use any of them. So let's see. Just gonna make a melody real quick. I'm using a piano I made from the VST called the Massive. It's just kind of like a Rhodes sounding piano. So generally I don't record when I do it. I just kind of place the notes. Sometimes record and then quantize. Generally I just place them. But usually I need to figure out the BPM real quick. So for a melody, I'm just gonna find 4 chords that sound good together. Alright, maybe this. Maybe. Alright, so I have an idea of what I want to do. So just a simple 4 chords. So this is somewhere where you can just, let's say you want to make your hats real easy. Nothing special. I just select this so it includes the rest of these notes. And then you can right click and do fill 2 steps. So just if you want a very basic hat pattern, I guess I'll put in a different hat because I tend not to mess with the default sounds. They're not very good sounding to me. They're all very, I don't know. They just don't sound good, to be honest. Just gonna find a hat real quick. Pretty much anything will be better than the standard one. Alright, so I'm just gonna leave that. Generally I do put in percussion after the melody. I just figured I'd put this here, sort of like a metronome in a way. Alright, so you can click this to sort of see where the notes are actually aligned and go to the piano roll. So I'm using Massive for this piano. So starting on the first bar, we have this first chord, which I usually just click in. Alright, so the BPM is definitely a little too fast right now, but I'll figure that out. So this is just in the C major scale, not using any of the black keys. And something I actually want to just include real quick for this, even though it's not really part of the tour, is that if you're using FL Studio, I can't speak for the other DAWs, but at least in FL Studio you can go to Sampler. And basically anything you put in here will kind of just appear like these notes. So these are the chords that I put in on the piano, but I can't mess with them here. It's just showing where they are. So in the sampler, it's not actually an instrument. You can just put notes here. And one of the useful things you can do is click these 3 lines up here. And I mean, obviously a C major is just all the white keys, no black keys involved. But for example, just to show you, so I could go to major, make sure I'm not on only one, because then it'll just do it one time. And I click C, and it'll show all the C major, all the notes in the C major scale. So I could just go all the way, do all these octaves, move it all over. Oh, I messed up somewhere. I'm not going to use them right now, but basically this is what it would look like, just to show you what notes actually would sound good together. But since I know it's just white keys, I don't have to worry too much about that. So right now we got just a simple 4-chord melody. Alright, so we could actually repeat this for the intro. I might just use very little sounds for the intro. In FL Studio, you can obviously do just Control C to copy and then Control V to paste. I tend to highlight all the notes and do Control B, because it just automatically does it for you. You don't have to do the Control C and V. So, alright. We've got that. I actually don't like this hat at all. It's not a big deal, but I'm actually going to use, there's a standard sounds that come with FL Studio. Just going to go to the drums, hats. 808 closed hat is a pretty reliable one. Let's see. Oh. Yikes. So for some reason, sometimes when I put in sounds, this time thing is on, which completely messes up the sound. You just gotta put it back to 0. Okay, just gonna stretch this all the way out so I can fit in all of the hats. Fill in 2. Alright, so before I put any of the pattern in the actual track, put them down in the tracks, I like to just stay in the channel rack and kind of figure out what I'm going to do for all the sounds. And then typically what I'll do is I'll right click this and split by channel, so you can separate all the sounds easily. So generally I stay in here and do everything in here first. So for claps, I'm just going to do the most basic thing you can do with claps. I'm not going to use the standard clap either there, because I'm not a big fan. Let's see here. I realize I'm being a little too picky here. Just need to pick a clap. Alright, at this point, I'm probably going to make a 808 to go along with this. So I'll just try to find an 808 that I can use. just to mention, everything I have here is just stuff I found on YouTube that you can just download for free. Alright, so this 808 sounds like it's pretty good. One important thing though is to right click this and cut itself, so when you play two notes in succession, they don't overlap. It cuts the first one off. That was definitely very helpful when I learned that. In addition, you gotta tune it, because this one definitely does not sound like C. When I play C, it's really sounds like it's playing a different note, and that just won't sound good when I play it with this melody if I try to use the right notes. I know there's a lot of ways to do it in every single DAW. What I did though is I just go to the mixer and the master channel. I downloaded this thing for free called G-Tune. Just kind of shows you, it's just a tuner. So if I play C, instead of C it's playing E. So what I would do is go here and change this to E. So now it should say C. It's even still a little bit higher than C, so I can just adjust the pitch a tiny bit here to make it a little lower. That's perfect. Alright, so for the 808, alright, so the root note is C, then B, then E, then D. So go down here. Whoa, and I still have this selected. Gotta make sure that's off. For 808s, I do like to record a little more, but I'm not sure if I'm going to right now. Yeah, I will. Just gotta find the right notes here. Alright, so I'm actually going to click them in. Right now the melody's a little loud, you can't really hear the 808. And I'm going to move this up too, because it's a little low, kind of interfering with the 808. And the reason that I'm not shortening the notes or lengthening them is because right now I don't have, for example, you can like go into the sound here and make it an envelope to choose how long the note plays and all that stuff, the attack, the hold. I'm just using the basic wave, so I'm using exactly what came in the pack, so it'll play this every time. I just tap the note and it plays the same sound. And since I have cut itself on, it's not going to make a difference if I shorten or lengthen these. So that's why it doesn't matter if they're overlapping in this instance, but otherwise, you know, like for the piano, obviously however long these notes are is how long the piano is going to play for, but it's just a little different when you're using just a wave sound. Alright, so that's the pattern we'll use for the 808. So like I did before, I'm just going to Control B so I don't have to copy and then paste. Alright, so last thing I'm going to do is probably add a snare. And then we'll do quick automation and effect. We don't really need a snare. It's just for fun. See if there's any good sounding ones. Okay. Also, this isn't really relevant to the video at all. I just noticed that sometimes, for whoever's watching uses FL Studio or any of the programs, I like to remove the hats where the snare plays, so it's less muddy sounding. It just plays its own sound. I actually might turn the BPM up here. The BPM's a little bit slow. Alright, so that's sounding good. Alright, so the first, let's see. Melody is currently 8 full bars, so that'll be the intro. Well, I guess that's the melody playing twice. So this first part will be the intro. It'll just play this. And then to show kind of how to use automation, I mean, there's a whole lot of, you can automate any single sound in any DAW, I'm pretty sure. But in my experience, I send whatever I'm using to the mixer channel. So I'm sending this one to 5. So then I'll go here to 5. And I generally like to do cutoff. You can do volume, so it starts quiet and gets loud, and then it drops kind of. I like to use cutoff instead. So have this on full. So this kind of makes it sound like it's underwater a little bit. Alright, so then I can right click this and do create automation clip. I'll have this go down here because there's going to be other instruments going here. And then basically I can just drag this down and have it come all the way to the top here. Drag this out to however long it's going to be. You can right click to put in points in FL Studio. So here you can hear. So that's basic use of the automation. Let's see, what else? Another thing you can do here, so this is where it'll drop, and all the other instruments will just come in with it. Hat, clap, snare, and then the 808. Don't ask me why the names of these instruments are what they are. It's just what I downloaded. Alright. Alright, so that would be the start of a beat right there. Last thing I would do is go to export, wave file, and then just name it, save it to a specific folder, and that would be FL Studio 20.